Hello, everybody. Hi, Katie.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing
great.
Hi, Lena. Good morning.
Hi, how are you, Claire and Lisa?
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
I think we're going to wait a few minutes to just allow people to join.
Wonderful.
Morning.
Welcome, everyone. We're just waiting a few more minutes for our colleagues to join us from the Ministry of National Economy, and then we'll get started. It looks like our colleague from the Ministry of National Economy is with us. Welcome, Ihab. So we'll just give 1 or 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Thanks everyone for your patience.
Tayyam.
Everyone, I miss you all. Hello, all my friends.
Everyone.
That's the only reason I joined.
Everyone is silent, but I have to say hello to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Hi,
كيفكم?
How you been?
Hala.
Alhamdulillah, wonderful.
Hello, everyone.
I like these IPSD backgrounds, man.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we can get started now. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Muhannad. We just want to make sure that our colleagues from the World Bank are also online with us. Yes. So good morning, everyone. My name is Lina Fattoum. I'm the IPSD's project director. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this virtual meeting to launch one of our major programs, the IGNITE program, which is basically an early stage financing program that we will discuss in detail today. We're very excited about this program, and we're very excited to have you with us to discuss it. Allow me first to express my gratitude for to the Ministry of National Economy for the trust they've given us as DAI to lead the IPSD, and to thank our World Bank colleagues for the support that they continue to provide us throughout this program to achieve our mission. I also welcome Rainmaking as the IPSD partner in implementing this program, and I extend my appreciation for each one of you for joining us. I'll begin with a quick general overview about the Innovative Development Project. I'm sure you may have heard about it, but it's just good to give you a quick reminder. The IPSD is a $22 million Ministry of National Economy project that is funded by the World Bank, and it's implemented by DAI across the West Bank and Gaza in all the Palestinian areas. During the lifetime of the project, we'll work with Palestinian startups, innovative SMEs, and entrepreneurs to improve the opportunities that are presented to them as individuals and as firms through varied interventions. We have at least 6 different areas and services across components and subcomponents. I encourage each of you to learn more about the program through our website and by reaching out to us directly to get more information about each of those interventions. Today, we'll focus our program on learning more about the early stage financing component that my colleague Khaled Abul Khair is leading. He'll present you with an overview of his component, followed by our partner Rainmaking, represented by the Chief Operating Officer Katie Lewis, and the IRIS Program Director Clara Lisa Camilleri. Did I say that correctly? They'll provide you with more detailed information about the IRIS program, and you'll learn exactly what IRIS means. I know we use a lot of fancy terms here. And finally, my colleague Mira Stefan will provide you with essential information about the environmental and social requirements of our project in order for you to qualify for the IGNITE program that we're talking about today. Please note that this session includes a question and answer period to allow you to ask all your questions at the end. So I ask you to kindly save your comments and questions for that period. If you have a question that you just want to make sure that you ask and don't forget, feel free to type it up in the chat box as we go forward, and we'll be sure to address it. For now, I'd like to welcome our guest from the Ministry of National Economy, Mr. Ihab Yassin, he's the head of the private sector unit. He'll provide you a word from the ministry, and then my colleague Khaled Abul Khair will take it from there. I'll stop here, and I thank you once more for your participation. We're very excited to have you here and very excited to start this program. Welcome, Ihab Yassin. Ihab. Is there a problem with Ihab? Ahmed, can you double check, please?
Just 1 second.
Okay. In the Here we go. We seem to be having a little bit of technical difficulty from the ministry, so if we give them a moment, and maybe Khaled, you can start by providing. Give us a moment, please.
It looks like Ihab's mic apparently is not working. I'm going to get Ihab to use my station. I think this way we do have some internet connection problems. I turned off my camera because your voice wasn't making it through, Lena. So just bear with us for a minute, and then I'll get Ihab to use my station instead. Just give us a minute.
Lena, I think you're muted.
Yes, I just realized, thank you. I guess this is one of the challenges we face in Palestine, that sometimes we don't always have the best internet connections, and but certainly we'll be able to overcome that, hopefully, very quickly. In the meantime, I want to, perhaps Khaled, if you don't mind quickly introducing yourself until our colleague from the ministry comes on board. So it looks like the shortages in the internet are affecting all of us. Here we have Khaled.
Hello, everyone. So, Lena, do you want me to start our part until?
No, it looks like our colleague from the ministry is on board. So, ahla wa sahla, Ihab. Nice to have you with us.
Thank
and
you,
I'm glad that the internet's working. So please go ahead.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to have this chance, to be here with you today at the launch of the Ignite OK program. Yes, it's about chances, and this is what brings us together today. Because the Ministry of National Economy is strongly committed to give and improve the chances and opportunities presented to the Palestinian private sector. First of all, I would like to thank you for joining us today, and I would also like to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation for this commitment by the IPSD team and the World Bank. Ministry of National Economy are aware of the importance of startups and SMEs and how their development relates to economic growth. We believe that the entrepreneurial activity across the economy is a fundamental driver of economic growth, which is a requirement for the development of the country. For companies to invest and an economy to grow, stable environments, efficient institutions, functioning markets, and access to sustainable financial services are all required. Ministry of National Economy, through the IPSD, works to improve the economic opportunities, the economic framework conditions, and to establish sustainable promotional structures. IPSD is working with startups and innovative SMEs to support their efforts in improving and expanding. The $22 million IPSD project is delivering programs and initiatives that aims at developing a dynamic startup finance ecosystem, improving businesses access and linkages to international and regional markets, promoting government reforms and automating businesses registration, streamlining and providing a framework for home-based businesses, and developing an outsourcing hub in Gaza. We realize that economic growth is created by people. This is why we are here today, announce the launch of the Ignite Investment Readiness Advisory Services Program. Today we begin with a tailored coaching, technical support, in order to enhance the right competencies for dynamic economic development. And we are pleased to announce that with it is known how rainmaking IPSD IRAS implementing partner makes an active contribution to the full realization of our economic potential. Together, we are creating opportunities. We at the Ministry of National Economy are committed to work with all stakeholders toward achieving the project goals, and we welcome the growing recognition of the important role of the private sector. Undoubtedly, this is a key opportunity to shape the future of the Palestine's ecosystem. IPSD and rainmaking will share the more details of the Ignite program. So for now, I thank you all again for joining us, and we hope this meeting will be insightful for you and your businesses, and we look forward to celebrating success together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ihab, for that message. And we at IPSD are very much, as I mentioned in the opening, perhaps you didn't hear it, we thank you very much for your continued support to IPSD and for your trust in our ability to carry out this important program for Palestinian economy. Khaled, if you are able.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you, Ihab. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all again.
We seem to have some internet difficulties.
Are you able, guys, to hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hear you and see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys were able to hear Ihab all through, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. We're just running into some issues with connectivity. So we'll keep the camera as long as we can hear you, but if we stop hearing you, we'll turn off the camera. That seems to enhance the access to the net.
Okay. Let me start the presentation. So hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you, Ihab. Thank you, Lina. It's nice to see your faces again, everyone. Well, today we're gonna talk about the Ignite, as mentioned, but I would like to give you a little bit refresher on the early stage financing program that I'm leading in IPSD, which focuses on developing a dynamic startup finance ecosystem. Basically, one of the realizations that was realized during the design of this program is that there is several gaps in the finance ecosystem for startups and innovative SMEs. And to address these gaps, three main programs were kind of designed. First of them is the Ignite, which we'll be talking about today. And this program focuses mainly on early stage startups that have traction, that prove to have a viable product, but still are not ready to raise investment. This program will work with these startups, and we'll go into details in this presentation about the Ignite program. The second program we have is the co-investment grants, which aims at stimulating private investments by private investors in Palestinian startups and innovative SMEs. Again, the idea of the co-investment grant is basically to match investments coming from private investors And the idea is to both help both sides in closing deals. It's providing more capital for startups for accomplishing their goals, and on the other side, encouraging investors to invest in Palestinian startups. And finally, and the last piece is actually help build angel investor networks in Palestine. This is based on the realization that we need to mobilize angel investors and private investors coming from the Palestinian market in Palestinian startups. And hopefully at a certain stage in time, angel investors in Palestine will be the primary source for investment for early stage startups. So going into the Ignite, as I said, the whole idea of the Ignite is to focus on startups and empower them to be able to raise investments. This empowerment goes in both sides, which is the technical assistance and grants. And the idea is that they will use this program to grow their companies and be prepared to raise investments. Whom are we looking at? Of course, as I said, we're looking at Palestinian startups and innovative SMEs with main focus on firms that are aiming to raise private investments within the next 3 to 9 months. Of course, the way this translated when we look at startups has to do with many factors, but the idea is that we're not aiming at very early stage startups, more on the startups that have, as I said, some kind of traction and they're ready to kind of start their journey with fundraising. And of course, our colleagues at Rainmaking will dive more deeply into this. The stages of the IRIS, as I said, there is 2 stages. First is the technical assistance program, which is called IRIS. It's a tailored program, and I want everyone to understand it's less of an accelerator, but more of a kind of customized program per startup. Again, we'll go into the details with our friends at Rainmaking, but it's basically tailored for each startup or firm that joins the program, depending on their needs and what gaps is being identified for them to become investment ready. It will be delivered by our friends at Rainmaking, who have a huge experience in such programs. It's going to be delivered also in coordination with Gaza Sky Geeks and UMake, our also coordination partners in West Bank and Gaza. In each cohort, we're aiming to accept or take in 10 to 15 firms to join the IRIS section of the program. The second stage of the Ignite is the pre-investment grants, and it's a grant that's up to $50,000. The goal of this grant is to fill in the gaps that were identified through the technical assistance program, of course, by the Rainmaking team and by the investors that hopefully startups and SMEs will be meeting through their technical assistance program. So the idea that we provide these grants to help them fill these gaps. Of course, this grant will be exclusively available for firms that are in the IRIS cohort, but it's not going to be, given to every startup or SME. It will have a separate application. It will have a separate committee, but basically startups that are in the IRIS cohorts will have the availability to apply with these grants with the help of the Rainmaking team. And that's it from my part. I will give it over to the Ignite team, the IRIS team, to take it from here. I think Katie.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Khalid. We appreciate that. Perhaps it's easier from our side if Claralisa presents our presentation. Is that okay, Claralisa?
Sure.
Yes, I'm just getting it up on the screen.
Wonderful. Thank you.
1 second. Okay, I think it should be working. I need permission to share my screen.
Khalid, are you able to help with that, please? Or perhaps...
Clarissa, are you able to share it? So you have to click on the share content.
Yes, but I said
would you like me to share the?
I'll try again, but I needed a permission earlier. So let's see if this works now. No, it looks like I still don't have permission.
Okay. So I'll share the screen. Is that okay?
Wonderful. Sure. And we'll just let you all say next slide, as we've all become very accustomed to with these types of presentations. Well, look, thanks so much, Khalid. We really appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to be here today talking with you all. We are so delighted to be delivering the Ignite Investment Readiness program as a component of the IPSD. And as Khalid's already mentioned, this program is really unique because it's offering this bespoke coach-led support for the participating startups. So next slide, please. I am Katie Lewis, COO at Rainmaking. And during the last 15 years, Rainmaking has been supporting startups to grow through access to markets, corporates, and importantly for this program, investors. Over that time, we have supported companies to raise around 700 million in investment, and our programs have been delivered across the globe. So from Berlin to Mexico City, London to New York. We've been active in the Middle East for the last 10 years, and we currently have offices in Dubai and Qatar City. This is where we've been really instrumental in supporting the local ecosystem to develop their programs and their offerings and the growth of the startup community. Through this time, we've also been able to foster an extensive network of experts and investors in the region, which we're really looking forward to drawing on for this initiative. I think it's a really exciting opportunity for all of us involved from the Rainmaking side to be able to provide our cumulative experience to the Palestinian ecosystem. Next slide, please. Personally, I have spent the last 10 years focused on access to investment. I first worked in an early stage VC where I was coming across the challenges from entrepreneurs and understanding what we needed, why we were asking certain questions of them, and what we were looking for as an investment outcome from the VC perspective. During those conversations, I really wanted to be able to empower the entrepreneurs to help them be able to understand and manage this process. So for the last 6 years, I have been designing and delivering programs to do just that. I have been directly involved in supporting companies to raise more than 150 million in equity investment during that time. And I'm really proud by this opportunity that I can contribute this experience to this program. And I am really delighted to be working alongside my colleague, Claralisa. Over to you, Claralisa.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie. If we could move on to the next slide. Brilliant. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be with all of you this morning. I will be the program director for this initiative. I have a wide experience delivering capacity building programs to improve innovation ecosystems around the globe, from Africa to Latin America, Europe. And just last year, I was delivering acceleration programs for startups ranging from pre-seed, seed to Series A. So accustomed to deliver these bespoke online programs. I also have wide experience certifying incubators or accelerators according to European quality standards to make sure that services, structures, and impact are in line with European standards. And finally, I'm a huge promoter of inclusive entrepreneurship across entrepreneurship support providers. So if we move on to that next slide, I'm happy to dig into the program itself and provide an overview in terms of what we aim to achieve and how we aim to achieve that. So it's been mentioned already, the ultimate goal here is to improve the quality of opportunities that Palestinian early stage startups and SMEs can have access to. So how exactly do we aim to do that? So we've mentioned already 2 actions. So the first one is really aimed at the startups, and this is the biggest and main action, where we'll provide a training, coaching, and mentoring bespoke program for all of those startups that get selected. Alongside this, we'll also be training the entrepreneurship support organizations that have been selected to provide greater investment readiness services for those startups along the way. So if we go on to the next slide, you'll see that we have set up our own methodology, the rainmaking methodology, where through this, what we aim to achieve is help startups to develop compelling and strong investment readiness strategies. And in order to understand the sort of metrics that investors look for when looking to invest in companies. So essentially, we're looking to get startups to understand the investor mindset so that they can be crafting businesses that can attract investment, and also to be able to engage with those investors once they get their interest. So if we move on to the next slide, you will see there are two phases. And I think Khaled mentioned this earlier. So first phase will be first pilot, where we have set up a 10-week framework starting in August and going all the way to November. And the second phase will start in December, lasting up to February. Our goal is to be tracking and monitoring exactly all the learnings that we're getting from the activities that we're developing, so that we can set up a constant feedback loop to improve those activities and really make sure that we are addressing those gaps that the startups have and be able to really provide real impact throughout this initiative. Now, if we move on to the next slide, I'll tell you about what you can expect to get from this program. I've mentioned a 10-week framework where each week we have set up, there will be a focus on fundamental business topics, where we will deliver a keynote and a workshop by international experts. And I call this a framework because it will set, let's call it a bit of a structure, where within the structure, we will also set up bespoke programs for the startups. So when startups apply and we carry out the interviews, we will also be applying investment readiness diagnostics. And through this diagnostic, the result will be an overview of exactly what gaps the startup has. And as a result, we will create the program based on those gaps. So if we go back to the 10-week framework, at the same time per week, founders can expect to have one-on-one coaching time with our lead startup coach to address those gaps identified at the beginning, one-on-one coaching time with our investor coach to be able to translate the business learnings into that investment mindset and be able to implement the learnings into what investors expect to see from startups' documents. And finally, also one-on-one coaching time with an entrepreneur in residence that will be shadowing the entire program and will be able to help any startups with any other issues coming along the way. So we really try and provide as much support on a bespoke manner. And besides this, we also have set up community events, fireside chats, networking opportunities also for the entrepreneurs to share some of the learnings that they are acquiring. Besides this, and for any startup that we identify being close or ready to start engaging with investors, we will be providing tailored introductions to local, regional, or international investors, and also support with a negotiation once it comes to that for the startups. In our next slide, we have the application criteria. So if we could move on to the next one, please. You will see that we are looking for Palestinian startups that have non-existent or minimal environmental impact, which are looking to raise equity investment. So this could be from angel investors or from venture capital funds, again, either at a local, regional, or international level. We look for tech-enabled companies where there is a minimum of 2 people within the management team and that have some traction. Now, this traction could be in the form of some early sales, but also in the form of high number of users, testers, or even some expressions of interest from partners, suppliers, etc. Ultimately, we're looking for startups that are willing to learn, that are willing to provide the time and commitment to follow the process and really leverage as many of the learnings that we will be providing through this initiative. Our next slide will show you requirements. So what could a startup expect in terms of the time they should attribute on a weekly basis if you get selected onto the program. So I've mentioned the weekly workshops and keynotes. So you can expect about total 4 hours per week to focus on this. 1 to 2 hours with a lead startup coach, about 1 hour with our investment readiness coach, and also about 1 hour with our entrepreneur in residence. Now, this is indicative because as we've mentioned, it's a bespoke program. So each startup will have a bit of a different, let's call it syllabus that they will be going through week on week within that 10-week framework. Who should take part in these sessions? Well, it's senior management team from CEO, founder to CXO. And wrapping up now, really our goal is to be able to demystify the investment process, to be able to help startups understand investment mindset, and as a result, be able to craft and shape businesses that can attract investment and can actually raise investment. So at this point, I will pass over to Katie to wrap up our presentation as we go on to the next slide.
Thank you, Claralisa. That's wonderful. So as was mentioned, there's time for questions at the end of the programme. So we look forward to being able to answer those. We just really want to make sure that everyone who's participating on the call today knows that the application link and opportunity to apply to the programme is now live. So we'd really hope that you're able to share this opportunity with great people in your network who you think could benefit from the connections of the programme. And if you're a startup joining us today and you want to participate, please do put your application in. We look forward to learning more about your business and delivering this world-class program with these fantastic partners. So thanks so much, everyone. We look forward to taking your questions later.
Thank you so much, Katie and Claralisa.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Khaled.
Thank you, both Katie and Claralisa.
Okay.
It was very wonderful to know more about the project. I guess we have a little bit of delay. I'm sorry. Next, we have Mira Stefan, our social and environmental officer. She's gonna tell us a little bit about the social and environmental safeguards of the project. Mira, off to you.
Hello, everybody. I'm just trying to share my screen. It's not working yet. 1 second, please.
Yes, Mira, we can see your screen.
Today I will present. Wait a minute, I can't find it. I can see it on my desktop. Yes, Khaled, can you move the slides? Okay, so sorry everybody, now it worked. Today I will present the environmental and social safeguards under IPSD project. Briefly, I will provide all our beneficiaries with our environmental and social requirements so as to be qualified under the IGNITE program. The environmental and social safeguards aim to ensurely implement our activities in an environmentally and socially sustainable manner, using, of course, best practices. And the aim is to safely implement the project and not to complicate our procedures. So, Before going through the environmental and social risks, I would like to refer here about our project classification, IPSD project. It's environmental and social risk classification according to the World Bank. The project is classified as, it falls under category C, which means that the project or any activity that will be financed or co-financed should have minimal or no adverse environmental impacts. And this is important to be qualified under IPSD project in general. To be more clear, the following list will be excluded from the project as the following. All the activities that will be financed by our project or co-financed that falls under this list will be excluded. Industrial related activities, any activities that is industrial related or construction activities or any activities that entail pollution generation. So since wait a minute. Yes, since the project is clear, the environmental and social impacts are clear, we have identified the social risk and the environmental risks, which are very limited according to the type and nature of our activities. We have 4 main social risks and 1 environmental risk as the following. We may have risks related to labor and worker rights and poor working conditions. We may have risks related to discrimination and social exclusion, mainly exclusion of vulnerable groups, which are women and youth, and risks related to exposure to sexual exploitation and abuse and sexual harassment, and the risk of increase of the exposure to COVID-19. And regarding the environmental risks, as I said, we don't have any projects that have environmental impacts. We will be dealing with the electronic waste production under our project whenever we finance IT equipment or when we have end of life of the IT equipment for our beneficiaries. So these are only the risks that we are talking about under IPSD project. Now I will refer to the procedures and applied mitigation measures that should be implemented by our beneficiaries as the following. The mitigation measures that should be applied is as follows. All the firms that will apply to the IGNITE program or any of our activities should comply and abide with the Palestinian labor law to provide acceptable worker conditions. Like all the beneficiaries should have a contract for their employees, minimum wages, they have to comply with the terms of the labor law, maximum working hours, the annual leaves, and they should provide their workers with valid insurance against work injuries. I don't know, the slide is not working also, but I will continue. All the benefiting firm must employ their workers, must not employ any worker below the age of 18. And all the firms that will apply should set and put in place a complaints procedure or system for their workers, and they should inform all their workers about the system so as to provide protection for them. The code of conduct. All of the firms should sign our project code of conduct to be aware of our highest standards of business ethics. And this code of conduct should be explained to all of the workers. And the benefiting firms should also comply with the WHO, World Health Organization, and the Ministry of Health guidelines regarding the COVID-19 protocols, so as not to increase the exposure of COVID-19 during our implementations. Finally, all the firms should ensure safe disposal of the potential direct and indirect e-waste production during the implementation of our activities under IPSD project. So these are the measures that should be applied by our beneficiaries. They are simple, straightforward, and they are only about the labor law requirements and other simple requirements. Finally, we would like to refer to our GRM system, which is a complaint management procedure that stands separately for our IPSD beneficiaries to, if they have any concerns, or if they do not agree with any of our implementation procedures, they can submit a complaint regarding any of our implementation procedures. The system also includes special referral pathways for any gender-based violence complaints, such as sexual harassment and sexual exploitation, where they can submit such type of complaints, and we will refer them to our DI ethics and compliance managers. And also would like to refer that our GRM also accepts anonymous complaints, where if anyone may choose not to file his name, we can accept also their complaints, and we will work with it with confidential procedures. And that's it from my side. I presented briefly our safeguards, and hope you will be able to implement it whenever you sign a grant with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mira. We're just waiting for Khaled. And that concludes our presentations for today. We'll open it up to question and answer period.
Yes, Lena, I'm with you.
In
Okay.
a second.
So I guess this concludes the presentation. Thank you, Lena. I guess
Seems
now
we
the
have
part for the
some
Q&A.
connection delays.
Yes. So everyone, you're more than welcome to type your questions in the chat. So we'll start answering them.
You can also raise your hand if you have any questions, and we'll call on you. I see a question from Laith. Laith, would you like to please?
Laith, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation today. Very promising program for the interest of startups, indeed. I also congratulate you, Make, and Gaza Sky Geeks for being partners on this program as well. Couple of questions on my part. The first, you mentioned that part of the criteria is having sales, a bit of traction on sales. Is that flexible in a way, or would that be mandatory to access the grant? Also, I'm thinking, because we at Fikra, we're launching a seed fund program very soon. And does that mean we can also cooperate with Ignite on getting them ready for later rounds of financing?
Claralisa, would you like to take the first part of that question?
So the first part, can you work with ID stages, not necessarily people that have developed traction in sales? I mean, they just have a great idea, a great team, no sales yet. So they are at a pre-sales stage, but they still require some massaging and technical assistance to get them ready in seeking investors.
I'm afraid I didn't hear all the question. would it be, could you please type it so that we can be addressing it? Sorry.
I think
I can.
Will the grant be open to pre-revenue stages?
So basically, I can add a little bit here while Grace reads the question. So basically, the IRIS, both the Ignite, is targeting startups that we believe can raise investments within 3 to 9 months. It's not totally tied to the revenues, but it's more about traction, whether it's revenues or a user base. But the idea is that it's less on the idea stage and more on a stage where we believe that within the lifetime of the program plus few months, they will be able to raise an investment. Clarissa, would you like to add something?
Hi, Khaled. I heard your answer, so I'm going to interpret the question. I would say I agree with you. I think it's not necessarily strict in terms of if you have it or not, but whether there is, let's say, potential to be raising investment. And in that case, usually traction is the main element that we look at. And so that traction could be early sales, but it could also be, for example, a huge user base or traction from the market, evidence from the market that there is interest in your product or your service. So I hope that answers your question.
Also, like in terms of the second question, I will definitely would like to kind of cooperate with every players in the market. You know, this is our kind of motto in IPSD. So definitely any venue where we can work together, it's always worth discussing and see what can come out of it. Definitely. So, and we already have some discussions. So sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm gonna go through. If you can, guys, just mute your mic. Would be nice. So I have a question from Sam Zakarne saying I want to talk about the stone sector. I think this falls into the ESMM or the social environmental safeguards. So I would give Mira the stage to answer that.
Yes, Khaled. As I said from before, our project falls under category C. It should, any activity that will be submitted should fall under this category and should not have any environmental concerns or impacts. And so, as in IPSD project in general, we did not exclude any type of sectors. All sectors are open to apply, but each project and each firm will be assessed by us and by the World Bank to check its environmental concerns. I cannot now exclude any sector to our environmental and social management manual, but it will be, I think usually the stone sectors have some special environmental concerns, but according to our procedures, each application will be assessed case by case and will be checked also by the World Bank. So let us keep applications moving on, but I cannot promise that this type of sector is promising under our project. But since our manual did not exclude any sector, I just would like to mention that we will exclude any environmental concerns, any project that have environmental concerns.
Thank you, Mira. Going to the next question, whether the companies should be registered or not. There should, it's not a requirement to be a registered company, but the company has to be committed to register during the lifetime of the program. Of course, this is applicable for the IRIS part, which is the technical assistant, but for the grant part, the companies have to be registered with the National Ministry of Economy. I'm going over the question, guys. So there's few questions about the grant and the payments and basically how the grant will be carried out. So the grants, as normally, as we do with DEI and other projects, there's two types of vehicles to provide the grant. One of them is in kind, which is basically the startup or the firm will be asking IPSD to do the procurement and pay. And the other type of grants are the standard, which is the company will do the procurement and send invoices to IPSD, and IPSD will pay them back. The third option is standards with advanced payments, and this is more for advanced companies, where we establish a ring-fenced account, and advance will be put into that account, and any kind of movement of funds from that account has to be approved by both IPSD and the startup itself or the firm. Whether people or companies can apply if they already benefited from other programs like the COVID, yes, it's definitely they can apply, and we encourage startups to apply to multiple parts of the program. If you notice, I don't know if you notice, guys, but the whole setup or design of the IPSD is actually complementary. So each part complements the next. So if a startup, for example, gets the COVID or the pre-investment grant, they're more than welcome to apply for the co-investment grant. Actually, the whole idea is that in the IRS part and the pre-investment grant, you'll get an investor, then you'll apply for the co-investment grant. So basically, we take the company along the way. So yes, definitely. So what's the time frame for applying for the grant and the Ignite? So basically, there is no time frame for applying the grant. The grant in the PI is a rolling-based grant, so you can apply anytime during the IRS program. Of course, it has to be done with the help of the rainmaking team, the IRS delivery team, and with their recommendation. I'll give I think Katie or Clarissa can talk a little bit about this part where, startups, we feel that will be ready to apply, and what's the whole thing, because I know many startups, as you might imagine, Katie, will be interested in the pre-investment grant. So I think maybe you should, shine some light on the process and how it kind of goes through the IRS.
Sure. So I think from our perspective, and I think there's also another question here about the application process, so perhaps we can cover those two birds with one stone. So in terms of applying to the program, applications are now currently open for the next 3 weeks, and then companies will be shortlisted having gone through our investment diagnostic that Clarissa mentioned in her presentation. So we will be looking for some key elements to your business as to your investment readiness. And through that process, we can also be identifying opportunities where the pre-investment grant might support you in addressing some of those gaps. So it's whether we believe that through the program and the learning and the methodology of working with the bespoke coach-led support that we can be working with you and supporting you to deliver your investment readiness, be able to understand the types of investment that you're looking for, who would be a great investor for you, and how you're going to go about securing that funding, as well as looking at whether or not it could be the pre-investment grant that could cover that opportunity for you. In terms of like the type of things that the grant might look to do, it could be to give you access to some further resource from a personnel perspective. Perhaps you need support with your sales, and sales advisor would be able to come in and be able to support you on that. It might be some further product development work. I just know it can't be purely operational. It needs to be something that is building towards the value of the business, being able to create new value within the business opportunity for you. So hopefully that answers those questions, and that through the application process, your investment diagnostic will be undertaken. Those that are shortlisted will be invited to an interview where we will continue to kind of uncover and deep dive into your business, and then the program will be beginning about a week after. We'll be offering the opportunities to those in the first program. If you apply and you aren't accepted into the first program, perhaps it's because we've identified a gap that we believe you could work on either with a grant or by doing further research or further time in the market, then that does not preclude you from applying again for the second program or for further support. So, I think it's not sort of a one chance opportunity. We appreciate that this is all about a journey and being able to support you on that.
Thank you, Katie. Reem, you have a question? Reem, I'll ask you.
Hi. Yes. Hi, Khaled. Hi, Katie. Thank you for the presentation. So my question is about the cohorts. We said we have two cohorts of 10 to 15 people. So we have 30 people who will go through this program. So these are the candidates who will be applying to the grant. It's not like open to others who are at the same stage or like at the pre-investment stage who are trying to fundraise, who will not be qualified unless they are part of the two cohorts, right?
Yes. So basically, you know, again, the first cohort, as Katie mentioned, and Clarissa, is actually our pilot cohort. And the whole first year of this program is kind of a test phase where we're trying to see what's the best that will work for our ecosystem. The idea is that pre-investment will be available to companies that are in the IRIS. This is, as I said, the first stage. See how it pans out. Going forward, there's many ideas still in the discussion whether we accredit other IRIS kind of similar programs that are available in other, you know, in our ecosystem to be, you know, applicable to apply for the IRIS grant. As I said, the whole IPSD project, all the aspects of it is a kind of a ever evolving effort that we want to test, see how it goes with the market, how we react, and if we see a value in changing anything, it's always going to be open to this change. The idea behind connecting the pre-investment with the IRIS is that the idea behind the pre-investment was to fill the gaps that startups find while they're trying to get investors. And we believe that combining this gives more power to the IRIS program and make sure that the funds are utilized in the right way, which is basically getting an investor on board for these startups.
Okay.
So I hope that answers the question.
I have another question. So you talked, Katie, that the application is open for the next 3 weeks. So if we want to, for example, if we have any companies that are talking to us and we want to refer them, if they're not ready at this stage to apply to you, when do we expect to have the second cohort starting? So probably we either refer them now or to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So no, we're hoping that once we've made the selection for the pilot program, that we will then be opening the application process almost immediately for the next program. So that will be mid-August time, and that will then be for companies interested in the November intake.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.
No problem. Bye.
Thank you, Reem. So continuing with the questions, there is a question about how many startups can apply for the pre-investment grant. We don't have a limit on the number of startups that can apply. It's a rolling-based grant that is tied to the IRIS, you know, of course, subject to the fund availability. The criteria, as I said, for the grant, it's tied basically from, there's part of it, the application from the startup, and part of it, a recommendation from the IRIS team. And the whole idea is that how much what's requested to be done with the grant aligns with the goals of the IRIS program and ultimately raising an investment by the startup. Of course, there is a committee that will review the application, score it, and decide to apply the grant or not. Of course, you know, IRIS companies are already eligible. Then it's a more of a selection part of the process. The nature of the expenses, I think it was covered more or less by Katie. Definitely, we can cover operational expenses, but it has to be also tied to our, you know, like belief that this will lead to a better chance of a startup or firm raising investment. One of the limitations we definitely can do is that we cannot cover operational expenses outside of Palestine. Not that it will be a common case in this early stage, but it has to be pointed out. So 8th of July is the closing date, is the 8th of July closing date for not the Ignite program, is actually for the call of applications for the first cohort, which is the pilot cohort. As Katie mentioned, we'll have the second cohort, will open the call for applications and we'll announce it when it's available. Katie, maybe you want to go a little bit again on basically when do we expect to have the second cohort, the call for applications, open?
Sure. So we expect that to be from mid-August, the call for applications to be open for the next program. And I've just, there's another question here from Zaid, I think, around startups past the ideation and MVP stage can apply. Absolutely. And I think that really ties nicely to the opportunity that Claralisa took you through, where it's really bespoke training. So depending on your stage will depend on the package of training support that you'll be provided with. So if your business is, really mature in terms of being ready to raise investment, and perhaps there are just a couple of gaps, or perhaps you haven't done it before and you want the support, then we can help you, but not. We will want to see some level of traction. So we want to have the belief that what you're building, customers in your market want it. So it depends what that could look like for your business. So it might be, for instance, if you're in the app market, you might be focused on achieving downloads, so that then you can understand how you could look to commercialize your audience. Or if you're selling B2B, it might be that you've got very long sales cycles, but that you've been able to attract some letters of interest or expressions of interest that you can prove that people are genuine and wanting to engage with your product and solution.
Thank you, Katie. We have a question for Mahmoud. Some SMEs in Palestine focus on reselling important products. Are they entitled to apply? SMEs that work in a regular architecture to sustain, would the program support them? So again, as Mira said, we don't have a single focus or a focus on a single sector. Again, everything that goes through the program or supported has to be in category C. So basically, that's more of the limitation than the sector. So it is, as Mira said, again, it's a case-by-case basis. I don't know if you would like to add a little bit more, Mira, about this question.
Yes, Khaled. As you said, and as I said before, it's open for all sectors, and it will be studied case by case. Usually, the agricultural projects have special concerns. They may use fertilizers and others that may affect the environment. But as I said, our manual did not exclude any sector, and our project supports innovative and technology-driven and technology-enabled startups. So across all sectors. So that's why the manual set it and it's open for all sectors to apply, and we will study the business model itself and the activity that is requested from IPSD project. But as I said, I will not promise that the agricultural sector will be supported or rejected, because it's a case-by-case process. I'm sorry to tell you this, but
dear all, this is Julia from All Bank. Just to make sure that everyone understands, and just not to have 1,000 applications for SME. This is a category C project, and DI should really provide the right feedback now. So a stone company definitely has environmental impact and will be excluded, because this is a company who has environmental impact. An agriculture farm or company who uses fertilizer, etc., has environmental impact and will be not qualified. So just to make sure we are not going to receive, and DI should be very clear on this, 1,000 applications, and companies who this info session is for them to understand if they can qualify or not. So the IPSD is focused more on startups and innovative SMEs that are tech or tech-enabled. Their activities are not having potential impact on the environment. Like, you need to think, if I have a textile company and I use or I'm producing some fibers or stones or cement or dairy or agriculture, definitely you're not qualified, because your companies have activities that have potential. So for this kind of project, there is another project called Finance for Jobs that offers co-investment financing, and it is a category B that basically can support companies from industry, manufacturing, etc. IPSD is focusing on innovative SMEs or startups that are tech-enabled, and they don't pose environmental impact. Just to make clear, so you don't spend the time, and the World Bank project, that one addresses specific tech-enabled companies, and other addresses a more large type of medium or larger type of companies, even small, but on sectors like manufacturing industry with no restriction on the environmental issues. So thank you very much. And also a few other clarifications. You don't need to finish the 10 months, the 10 weeks program to apply for pre-investment grant. The moment the gaps are identified, can be depending on the stage your startup is and how ready it is. It can be in 2-3 weeks from the beginning, in 5 weeks. And when together with our partners, you know for sure what are your needs, and you can apply for the pre-investment grant in the middle of the progress. You don't need to finalize the ERAS. You need to be accepted in the ERAS as a condition for applying to the pre-investment grant. Also, a very important thing, and I will ask Khaled to do another info session with your questions from today and the more detailed presentation. This was just a launch event. So if you are admitted to the Investment Readiness Advisory Services, to ERAS, which is the first stage of the IGNITE, this doesn't guarantee you that you'll have the pre-investment grant, because our partners, like the project, can realize after 5 weeks that maybe the startup is not good to go. You know, the more in depth you go, you can realize, I don't know, founders are keep fighting. You know, I give you an example. So the team is not there. And you know very well for a successful startup or a business, how important it is to have the right team. So they might tell you, go and fix your team or something before you are ready to apply for a pre-investment grant. So this is very important. If you are admitted to the ERAS first stage, it doesn't guarantee you are going to get the pre-investment. In general, it's highly possible, and this is what will work. But if the team discovers during this major floor, during this one-to-one advisory services and coaching, they will get back to you and they may tell you, you need to really fix these 1-2 issues to move forward. So also another question, if you apply for COVID-19 support, yes, you can qualify for pre-investment grants and be admitted to IGNITE or to the co-investment grant. So we'll have another info session in a week that will be more detailed.
Thank you, Yulia. This was Yulia, everyone, our partner from the World Bank. She's leading the project, the IPSD. Thank you for all that clarification. I hope they were clear. Definitely will have, everyone is more than welcome to contact us with questions. Of course, we'll have several more sessions with the IRIS, of course, and the pre-investment, of course, the other components, the co-investment. I've seen some questions about the co-investment grant, but we'll leave it for the co-investment discussion. So I hope Yulia made it clear about the environmental part. So yes, going back, there's definitely, again, there's so many questions about, you know, the sector or whether the architecture sector, architect. Again, the company and the project has to be, does not have any environmental effects. Again, a startup doing tech or tech solutions for the stone sector or the architecture sector, it can apply, but not the other way around. Okay. So what's the deadline applying for the grants? For the grant after, I guess, joining, as Yulia also mentioned, and we've mentioned before, companies joining the IRIS will have the ability to apply. Of course, it has to be in coordination with the IRIS team. Whenever they're ready, they can apply. It's not tied to any stage of the IRIS program, but it has to be tied to the startups joining that program. Any other questions?
I asked a question. Hello, Khaled and everyone. I asked a question regarding it's my last one. If I have employees in Egypt, since they are not in Palestine.
Sorry. So the Egypt. Yes. So as I said, operational costs outside of Palestine cannot be covered by the pre-investment grant. In fact, it cannot be covered even by the co-investment grant, especially the operational costs. So basically, salaries, rent outside of Palestine cannot be covered. Blockchain, and I've seen another question, blockchain and cryptocurrency related projects. Of course, I don't think we have any limitation on those. And again, each project will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Lamar, you have a question. Does this mean we can apply after 6 months? Again, we'll have multiple cohorts. Up till now, we have 2 cohorts in year 1. And definitely you'll be more than welcome to apply for whatever cohort you feel that you're ready for. And again, as Katie mentioned, you can reapply for the next cohort. And each cohort will be announcing it and making sure that we reach everyone who might be interested in applying. Any other questions? Okay. So I guess that concludes it. I don't know, Elena, if you would like say a word before we conclude this.
Thank you, Khaled. I would just like to, I understand that the Ministry of National, thank everyone. I see, sorry, I thought that was directed. Yes, I'd just like to quickly say thank you to all the participants. I think this was a great engagement, and we hope that you will continue your interest. We appreciate the thought-invoking questions. As you think of more questions, please reach out to us and take a look again on our website. We do have a Q&A up there on this program, so you can get some of the answers there. If you find something that is not clear to you, please reach out again. I thank all the participants. Thank you to Rainmaking, to Mira presentations. Thanks to the Ministry of National Economy and to IHAB. And thank you also to the World Bank as well. And thank you, Yulia, for your insight today. Please continue to be engaged with us. Look for more information from us, not just on Ignite and the programs that we're launching today, but also, if you will, on our other interventions, which you'll find on our website. I know some of you have already actually asked about the co-investment today. You'll find all of the information available. I see that there may be some new questions up here. I don't know if you want to take a minute, Khaled, to provide some answers.
Sure. We'll go over them quickly. So can startups benefit from both programs? Definitely. We encourage startups. Actually, the whole idea is for startups to apply for the Ignite, and when they manage to get an investor on board, we encourage them and want them to apply for the co-investment grant. So definitely. Companies registered outside of Palestine can apply. At the end of the day, as I said, at the stage, if they were selected or approved to get the grant, they have to have a registration in Palestine. That's the limitation we have. For those who joined there is a recording definitely that will make available on our website, IPSD.ps. Of course, the cost, as I said, operational cost has to be in the West Bank in Gaza. I guess, yeah, all covered.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Khaled. Thanks, everyone, for your interest. Again, as I mentioned, please do reach out to us if you have any additional questions. This concludes our session for today, and we will have additional sessions where we can answer your questions. Katie and Claire Lisa, thanks again for your participation. Thank you, Yulia, and Khaled and Mira. And of course, a special thank you to the Ministry of National Economy and to IHAB for joining us and presenting your support to this program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
مع السلامة.
Thank you. Bye bye.